Son of Seafoam by CaffeinatedFlumadiddle. Chapter 5. Percy was straight up not having a good time right now. How does one react to finding a bunch of kids turned into plants? Gods, they put their names on them. He was going to be sick. What? Thalia demanded, and stepped back with wide eyes. What are you talking about? She asked, but Percy grabbed her arm, practically shoving her back towards the entrance. No way was he leaving her here with these sick gods, and they... Now, let's not overreact. Percy almost tripped as he stopped by a fountain next to the gate. His head curled protectively around Thalia as he looked back to find Aphrodite standing there with a slight frown. He glared at her. You lied to me, he told her accusingly. You said the unclaimed kids were safe, he shouted, and absently went to Riptide. What about this is safe? Everything all right, darling? Aphrodite said, and took a step towards him. Involuntarily, he flinched away. She paused. Perseus? I don't understand what's upsetting you, she said, voice going soft. Look, they're fine, she said, and gestured to the plants. He shook his head. Sweetheart. This isn't fine. It isn't. What would you have us do? Aphrodite asked. We can't kill them. That's cruel. This is cruel. How? She asked, and it struck Percy that she seemed genuinely confused, as if she truly couldn't understand how horrific this was. They're okay. We will turn them back when the time is right. Demeter put magic on them long ago to preserve them. Nothing dies here. They might age much more slowly, even more slowly than your tree, she added with a nod towards Thalia. But in the end, they'll come back around the same age and perfectly healthy, she said. Percy stared. You see, everyone wins. We don't have to worry about the threat of bloodshed, and they'll all live long and happy lives when the time is right. And when is the time right? Thalia asked. Whenever you need more bodies for your army? She asked, voice shaking. Do you remember these past 6 years? Aphrodite asked her patiently. No? Well then, they won't remember this either. It's just a nap for them. I'm not sure why you're making such a big fuss, she said. Percy stared. He didn't know what to say, how to vocalize his feelings into something more articulate. He had known, in theory, that the gods and humans differed. However, he'd always assumed, that humans were gods with missing divinity. He hadn't considered that gods were humans with missing humanity. Perhaps Aphrodite's logic could be followed to an extent, but how could anyone not just feel the perversion of the situation? You're not doing this to Thalia, Percy said firmly. No, Mom, you can't. You don't know her, Aphrodite said with a shake of her head. Why does this even matter to you? This is wrong, Mom. Please, this is wrong, he said, quickly moving in front of Thalia when Aphrodite took a step forward. Please don't do this to her. She hasn't done anything wrong. It isn't a punishment, Aphrodite said, and tilted her head. This bothers you? She asked, looking mystified. Well, yeah, Percy nodded, in case his distress was somehow unclear. Aphrodite bit her lip. Very well, she said, and shook her head. Wait here, and I will speak to the others. Before Percy could respond to that, she was gone, and the gate behind them snapped shut. The bang echoed around them. Holy shit, Thalia whispered, and fell to her knees. They're going to... She breathed out and gave a small gasp. They're just going to turn me back, she shrieked, and slammed her hand into the ground. No, she began, and Percy fell to his knees next to her, trying to think of something anything that was remotely reassuring to say. I barely understand what's going on, she muttered. I woke up. I don't know how I came back. Just 1 minute, I was being stabbed in the back with monsters, and the next, Annabeth is 6 years older. Luca's gone, and I'm being marched to Olympus like a war criminal. What have I done wrong? She asked. Percy's hand hovered over her shoulder before that last question hit him in the gut. She didn't know. Of course she didn't know. How could she? Thalia had never even made it to camp. He had seen the memory. The campers had shouted about her being a Katara and a daughter of Zeus, but how much had she heard? Had she understood? She was fighting for her life. There was no way she put the pieces together. Thalia would have absolutely no idea why this was happening to her. You've done nothing wrong, he said, and knelt beside her. She looked at him uncertainly. Nothing. They're scared of big three kids. They call them Kataras. It's just how you're born. They think you're evil, he tried to explain. Thalia's brows came together. Am I? No, he said quickly. I don't think so. Something happened a long time ago. I don't really know what. All the big three kids went crazy and killed a bunch of people. Then this kid pretending to be a big three kid then and killed people? I don't really understand it, he admitted. Thalia stared. But you've done nothing wrong. You were just a kid trying to get to safety, he said. Thalia bit her lip. I won't let them hurt you. Why not? She asked quietly. Don't you think I'm evil too? Percy looked around. Technically they were alone, but he didn't know who could be listening in the shadows. He also didn't know Thalia well enough to gauge how trustworthy she was. So instead, he only gave her a weak smile and shrugged. I have good instincts with people, he said instead. I've met a Katara before. I don't know. You seem like a person to me, he said quietly. Thalia opened her mouth to respond, but at that moment, Aphrodite had poofed back into existence alongside a table and 3 chairs. She sat down. Wordlessly, she gestured for them to do the same. Great! Percy tried not to look annoyed as he helped Thalia up with her hands still bound and led her to the table. I've spoken to the council, she said, and interlaced her fingers under her chin. You are lucky your father is Zeus, Miss Grace. I doubt this sort of leniency would be awarded to anyone else. Thalia and Percy glanced at each other. You're letting her go? Oh, no, Aphrodite said and raised a hand. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You are still a stranger who could kill us all, she said. Percy clenched his jaw. This is what we have decided. Thalia Grace is to remain on Olympus here, not as a plant, she added firmly to Percy when he opened his mouth. You will be trained and monitored where there are no demigods to harm, and the gods can subdue you if needed. Percy closed his eyes. So, a prisoner then? That was the great compromise? Then, as you get closer to 16, we will evaluate you and decide how big of a threat you really are. Impress us, and you may very well be the prophecy child. Prophecy child? Thalia repeated, and shook her head. What prophecy? She asked. Percy flinched. It wasn't fair. She literally knew nothing. Is this what would have happened to him if people knew his true parentage upon arriving at camp? You just want me alive so you can control whatever prophecy is coming? She asked. Aphrodite grimaced. It really was the best I could do, dear, she said. We can't have you among our children. Apollo would lose his mind, she muttered. Percy frowned. Oh, you know how parents are, she said and waved her hand. How would you feel if your baby played amongst crocodiles? She asked with a curl of her lip. And sure, Every so often, you have a crocodile who could be a sweetheart. Mostly, you expect it to act in its nature. She's not a crocodile, Percy said, fists clenched on the table. Aphrodite fixed him with a long look. You say that, but she's already making you volatile. No, I'm volatile because you're treating her like an animal. Perseus, she said, and something about her voice stopped him. Wait outside. The gate door slammed open. Percy stared. I won't leave her with you, he said. Aphrodite's eyes flashed. How do I know you would even keep your side of the bargain? You might turn her into a bunch of daisies the second I leave, he objected. Thalia quietly cleared her throat. Aphrodite nodded to her to continue from across the table, though her eyes were still firmly placed on Percy. I don't mind this arrangement, she said, and Percy jerked his head at her. Maybe I can call Percy and Annabeth to let them know I'm okay? Iris message, Percy cut in. If Thalia was going to give in, then whatever, but Percy would at least have the assurance the gods wouldn't betray her. We get to Iris message her every day to make sure she's okay, he said. Aphrodite leaned back in her chair, then looked at Thalia for a long couple of moments. Finally, she took a long breath. Very well, I can convince the others to honor that, she said. Thalia, come with me. We can meet your father and show you your room. Perseus? She said, and turned to where Percy was still standing. Go back home. No. Look at me. Home. Not camp. Home. Do not return to camp until you learn not to talk like a sympathizer. I understand where you're coming from, but the campus won't like hearing this spiel, she warned and stood up. I'm not quite sure how I feel about how comfortable you are around her, she added, and Percy's heart fluttered. Perhaps he had acted too passionately. He had to think quickly. The way people talk about Kataras made me think they would have glowing eyes and fangs. This is just a girl, he said. Thalia rolled her eyes. She looks maybe a little powerful, but not dangerous, he said. Aphrodite's expression wavered. For a second, he felt every emotion he ever felt, and then nothing. The glow in Aphrodite's eyes dimmed. You have not seen the damage they caused, she said darkly. Percy wanted to argue. He thought about the dream with Evelyn, Hugo, and Vera. Would he have heard about Elliot Parker? People kept saying he didn't know, but did they? Go home. We know what we are doing, Aphrodite said, and with one last look of warning, she disappeared. This time, taking Thalia with her. Go home. Go home? Percy stood there in shock. He wasn't sure how much time passed. Go home. Percy wasn't sure what else to do, so he did. He went downstairs and told Annabeth what happened. He got her a cab to camp and just went home. Aphrodite sent him a sack full of drachma. He stayed home, called Thalia, went to school. He and his mom started going boating on the weekends. He stayed home, called Thalia again, managed to not get kicked out of school, hooray, talked to Annabeth, talked to Castor, talked to Selena, talked to Grover, talked to Thalia. He stayed home. And then the D'Angelos happened. Bianca and Nico D'Angelo. Percy had no idea the chain of events those two names would set off in his life. In years to come, he would think back to his trip to Westover Hall with an air of awe. It started off innocently enough. Grover had asked him and Annabeth to help him grab two demigod kids he had found. They went and found them, learned Dr. Thorne was a manticore, fun, and prepared to fight when the hunters arrived, and Annabeth. Percy would get Annabeth back, if it was the last thing he ever did. Not that anyone else seemed to care. Bianca joined the hunt, and Nico was, well, being Nico. Artemis left to go after some monster that could bring down the gods or whatever, and now everyone had skipped along to Camp Half-Blood on Apollo's super not-so-fun chariot of death. So, yeah, Percy was still straight up not having a good time right now. And guess what? It only got worse. The gods are angry, Grofer was saying as he wrung his hands together while they walked. Thalia is lucky they don't blame her. Blame her for what? What happened? Percy asked, as they lugged Percy's bag towards the Aphrodite cabin. Grover looked around. You know the garden you told me about? He asked. Percy nodded. He hadn't told everyone, but he told the important people. Annabeth had to know, obviously. So did Selena and Grover. He thought about telling Castor, but didn't really know what he might think about it. Well, a couple of months ago, the fleece went missing, he whispered. Percy raised his eyebrows. The gods were really upset. Thalia's security increased, and I don't know. Miss D said Olympus was angry, but then it got worse, he whispered. Yeah, they planned on using that to bring Cronus back, right? That isn't what the person did with it, though, Grover said and swallowed, pupils dilating as he glanced around again. No, they put it in the garden. Percy stopped walking for a moment, letting his bag fall to the ground. Really? He asked, aghast. How? Someone snuck onto Olympus and... Did it work? Grover nodded. No way. The unclaimed kids are back? No, not all of them. Demeter said 3 of their souls are missing from the plants. Nobody saw the fleece. That must be how whoever is doing it managed. The unclaimed kids are nowhere to be found either. They must have been brought straight to the Titans. Good for them, honestly. Percy schooled his expression. How can someone just casually sneak into Olympus, though? I don't know. Luke managed to steal Zeus's bolts, didn't he? He asked. Percy shrugged. Good point. Still, given how paranoid the gods must be at the moment, he shook his head. Maybe it didn't matter how it happened. Hopefully, it happened again. Percy definitely wasn't against unclaimed kids being freed from their disgusting Zen garden of souls. Besides, he had other problems popping up at the moment. How dare they? How dare they? Selena was saying as she slammed the door open. Love is worthless? Oh, I'll show them love is worthless, she muttered to herself as she marched around the cabin. I'll pulverize them, she muttered lowly. Them being the hunters of Artemis. Unsurprisingly, Aphrodite and Artemis did not get along. Who would have thought? Selena was not one to get riled up by strangers either. That was Percy's job. But boy, that lieutenant of theirs, Zoe or whatever, really got under her skin. The rest of the Aphrodite kids were silent as Selena stormed around the cabin with angry mutters and curses before a light knock came. Percy grimaced as Selena swung back around. You think you can come in here and... Oh, she cut herself off when she reopened the door. Hi. Hi, the visitor said. Percy peered over. It was Charles Beckendorf, a son of Festus. Percy wasn't too familiar with him, though he saw the guy around. Huge dude. Calloused hands, muscles that most people would kill for. Didn't explain why he was here, though. The captain seemed to lean forward in unison as he glanced around with wide eyes. I wanted to see if you were okay, he asked, rubbing the back of his neck. Selena blinked. Because, you seemed upset, and... Well, they're wrong. The hunters, I mean, he said. Selena stared for a couple seconds, looking a bit like she had gotten punched in the face. You think so? Yeah, definitely, he said quickly. Selena's lips twitched. Ignore them. They're just immortal bullies, he said wisely, and wrung his hands together. I thought I could make you this? Since you were sad, he trailed off, and held out a ring. Selena blinked again. For me? If you want it. I just saw your shield and thought about the watch Tyson. Tyson made Percy last year, and so I thought I could do something similar, he said hastily, and tapped the gem in the middle of the ring. It immediately turned into a replica of Selena's current shield. But I'm no good at jewelry design. It's beautiful, she said and smiled. Percy watched in amazement as she looked down, face turning a shade darker. Had Selena ever blushed before? Outside of the powder? Thank you. Yeah, sure, totally. Beckendorf closed his eyes. I should go, he said. But yeah, bye, he said and turned around, then turned back. Actually, wait, do you know what would show them? Selena raised an eyebrow. We should go on a date. Prove them wrong. You and I? If you want, he said, voice growing small towards the end. Selena smiled at the ground. I don't go on dates to piss people off. Charles Beckendorf, she said and crossed her arms over her chest. Beckendorf deflated. But if you want to meet me on the beach tomorrow for a picnic? Beckendorf practically jumped back to life. I can be there. I will be there, he said quickly and flushed. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Selena giggled. Not the usual giggle she gave, either. Percy had heard her giggle in front of cute boys. Percy had heard her giggle in front of cute boys before. It was usually the kind of laugh that was to make them feel special and important. This was a little more genuine. He narrowed his eyes. Wait a minute. See you tomorrow. The door shut. When Selena turned, the entire cabin was looking at her. She blinked, and the spell was automatically broken. Ooh, Selena has a crush. Selena and Charlie sitting in a tree. Can I be the flower girl at your wedding? Everyone be quiet and do something useful, Selena said, but she was clutching the ring to her chest. Percy hopped down from his bed. You too, she added to him. Percy ignored her. You blushed. You blushed, he said accusingly. Selena shrugged. You like him? He asked, a little indignantly. Selena was, of course, a daughter of love, but, no, he wasn't down with this. Not at all. Selena dated plenty of boys, but none had made her blush like that. It wasn't a good sign. He's a camper. You're a camper. Yeah, but you're not dating me, Percy said, and lightly shoved her to the side. Shouldn't you date someone, on your side? He whispered in French. Selena raised an eyebrow. I'm just saying. What if you guys hit it off and you tell him the truth and he betrays you or something? He asked, and then wrinkled his nose. Maybe he's a spy? Or what if he's a secret Katara hiding out in the Hephaestus cabin and harassing his sisters over going on dates? Selena whispered back. Percy scowled at her. Not funny. A little funny. Selena, I'm worried about you, he said, and she gave him a slight sigh as she put a hand on his cheek. He looked around to make sure nobody else around them was listening. They could all speak French too, after all. Grover told me about some unclaimed kids escaping from the garden, he said. Selena closed her eyes and slowly lowered her hand. I haven't handled. I could help you. No, Selena cut him off. I'm not putting you in any extra danger. You're already in the most, she said, and grabbed both of his hands. And all of this has made me see just how wrong the gods are, she said. I'm not more sure than ever. Oh, I'm now more sure than ever in my decision. And yet, Beckendorf? He asked her. At that, Selena grimaced, squeezing tightly. It wasn't an answer, but Percy could feel it all the same. She wasn't sure either. She was just following where her heart led her. It was usually how Selena did things. Just feeling her way through decisions, being guided by emotions. It was a way of life that Percy both completely understood and didn't at all. Sighing, he just kissed her cheek. Be careful, he muttered, and got his stuff ready for their friendly game of Capture the Flag. He kind of doubted it was going to be friendly, but whatever. Drew, could you pass me the sunscreen? He asked, walking over to one of the vanities. It was particularly bright out, but the #1 rule of skincare had been vigorously drilled into him since the second he stepped foot into this cabin. If the sun's out, the sunscreen is on. Even if you couldn't see the sun, it was the #1 cause of premature aging, after all. Drew ignored him. Hello? He asked. You okay? I'm not in the mood to deal with you, she snapped. Percy blinked. Well, okay. Percy frowned at her before perching himself on the edge of the table. Drew reached over and threw the sunscreen at him before grabbing some eyeliner. Huh. Percy and Drew had never been super tight, but that was because she'd been going through something, according to Selena. He had no idea what it was, but she had delved from something quiet and sad into whatever this was. You've been in a bad mood lately, Percy noted as she continued applying her eyeliner. What's wrong? Maybe that I'm stuck holding up my cabin's reputation to be pretty because the rest of you are slackers? Drew asked, and flipped her hair over her shoulder. I mean, honestly, she rolled her eyes. Percy stared at her. What? I am just confused, Percy said. You don't normally act like this. Oh, I forgot. We are just so close. Drew drawled out, hands clenching by her sides. Or is it your magic Aphrodite powers that everyone drools over? You think you can see inside my head too? She asked. Percy blinked, a little alarmed. Selena had fussed over his powers. It was to make sure people understood he had them. Grover did as well, though that was mainly because he loved Percy, but still. No? Are you even dating anyone yet? I'm 14, Percy said, mystified. And you're only 13, so... What? You don't think I can date someone? She yelled, making the cabin all pause. Drew turned bright red as she whipped around to glower at them. Mind your business, she said, and immediately the group all went into a daze before looking away. Percy also found his mind drifting before the realization hit. Just as he went to turn away, he spun back around. Hey, what's wrong with you? He asked, and Drew rolled her eyes. Selena says not to use charm speak like that, he told her sharply. The fact she could even do it on people who weren't the least bit attracted to her, siblings and all, was really a testament to her power, but still. Seriously, what's going on? Leave me alone, Percy, Drew muttered, and jabbed a finger to his chest as she stood up. And if you're such a perfect Aphrodite kid, then maybe you should start actually acting like one, she said. Percy spluttered. Had he not been acting like one? Him? After all this? You haven't even dated a single person, she sniffed. Maybe it's time to go to Selena for a palm reading, she told him. Percy stared. For what? He didn't even know how to respond to that. He didn't have a chance to ask since she stormed out of the cabin. Weird. Puberty, Lacey said wisely from where she and Troy were making flower crowns. Percy snorted. Yeah, right. He grabbed his armor to ready himself for whatever clusterfuck was waiting for them outside. Not that he cared about Capture the Flag, not with Annabeth missing. He tried not to let it overtake his thoughts as he set out. Mr. D and Karen had told him not to go after her, but it was Annabeth. It was all he could think about during the game. Not that he paid much mind to that either. Also, there were other things to grab his attention than the hunters duking it out with campers over some rivalry he could not care less about. Selena had made her personal mission to destroy them, but given the circumstances, Aren't you supposed to be on guard? He called when he spotted a familiar blonde head underneath a tree. Castor's eyes were closed, sword thrown to the side as he yawned. At Percy's approach, he gave a weak smile in greeting. Not really in the mood. Besides, they're going to win, he said. Percy grimaced. Yeah, probably. He sat down next to him. I've been meaning to talk to you, he said. Percy tilted his head. He had called Castor a few times over the course of the year. He had seemed fairly normal. Maybe whatever was bothering him was what was bothering Drew too. My dad sat me down for a talk a few weeks ago. Oh no, Percy said stoically. Did you get a bad report card? Castor didn't respond. At least not for a couple seconds. Then he sat up, fixing Percy with serious violet eyes. He said that he knew you and I were friends, and that you saw something on Olympus. He said you would probably tell me about it, so you wanted to tell me first, he explained. Percy's heart sank. Oh. And now that I know, I can't stop thinking about it, he muttered, pulling his knees up to his chest. Percy ran a hand through his hair. He wasn't sure what to say to that. Not really. How many were there? A lot, Percy admitted. If they've been doing this since the 1940s, I guess it builds up over time. But it was pretty big, he admitted. Castor made a noise of reproach before leaning back against the tree. What did your dad say? Basically that they did it, and that it was to protect them and us. Castor shrugged. He doesn't really sugarcoat things. He asked me what I thought about it, he said. Percy laughed. Bold of him. Castor snorted. I mean, what do I even say? It's so messed up, and I can't think of anything logical to really counter it. Is what they're doing to Thalia Grace much better? Would it be okay to take every unclaimed kid and just trap them like zoo animals? He asked with a shudder. Percy tilted his head. You know about Thalia Grace? Yeah, he told me that too, Castor said. I guess it's different with her. We know she's a Katara, but I don't know. It was weird, the way people talk. I thought seeing one in the flesh would be scarier. He frowned and shook his head. It felt like she was the one who was scared, he said, and then wrinkled his nose. I was there when she first came. I was 6 or 7. Some older kids told Pollux and me to hide, so we didn't see anything. I always wondered, he said, and then fixed Percy with a thoughtful look. What was she like? Percy considered. Moody, he decided, which was fair given everything. Really confused. She didn't know what was happening. She was nice, I guess. I would have never known what she was if someone hadn't screamed it out, he said. Castor nodded. From a tree beside them, some leaves rustled, and a couple of silver-clad girls jumped down. Hunters. One spied them and raised her bow. We're just talking, Castor said with a wave. Leave us alone. The girl snorted. Just a couple of boys, she called to the others. One is that Aphrodite kid, so maybe just wave something shiny at him, she drawled. Percy sneered in return as the others laughed. From the other side, a small yelp followed, and more girls came out with a squirming sack. What's this? We caught one. Sort of, one girl said, and dumped the bag. Out spilled Nico D'Angelo. His face was flushed, and hair going 1,000 different directions as he looked around wildly. He kind of came to us and asked if we played this card game. Yeah, Capture the Flag is boring. Mythomagic is way better. Want me to teach you? Nico asked brightly and pulled out some cards from seemingly nowhere. The girls all exchanged bewildered looks. By the way, do you know my sister? Her name is Bianca. She's new with you guys. Can you make sure she visits lots. She looks a little like me, except her hair is really long and she's taller, he explained. Castor scoffed, and Nico's eyes snapped at them. Hi, Percy, he said brightly when he saw him. Guys, this is Percy. He fought a manticore, and it was really cool. He was like, bam, 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 he shouted, throwing his hands with a pretend sword, despite the very real sword being tucked in his belt. I was like, whoa, and he was like, hey, be careful, those are collectibles. He interrupted himself with when one girl picked up one of his cards. Oh, he looks like fun, Costa murmured. I bet you were thrilled with that one. Well, he's a kid, Percy muttered. Under any other circumstances, Nico would probably annoy him, and admittedly, he was a tiny bit annoying, but Percy had enough practice with Troy and Lacey to know how to handle overzealous kids. Plus, Jamie. Oh, gods. Nico and Jamie were around the same age. He hoped they wouldn't meet. That would be not good. So, all of you guys are caught? One hunter said, and poked Nico in the forehead. Nico stuck his tongue out. Yeah, sure, Percy said and stretched out. We're caught. Spoiler alert, they did not win Capture the Flag, though Selena got a good nick into Zoe, which put her in a terrifyingly good mood. Enough that he braved another conversation with her as she was poking through their underground closet for day clothes. Yes, they had an underground closet. It was beneath the cabin, and the clothes magically always fit when you put them on. Percy began as she flicked through some blouses. Blouses and shirts were not the same, strangely enough. Can I ask you something? I'm not supporting the lip piercing. No, Percy shuffled. It's the, well, Drew said something about a palm reading? He asked. Selena paused. I don't really know what she was talking about, but he trailed off, flushing. I thought only Troy could do that stuff. Selena put down a yellow top, turning to look him over for a few moments before clasping her hands together. No, it isn't the same thing. Most Aphrodite kids can do it, she admitted, and then ran a hand over her face. I suppose it is time we have that conversation. You're only getting older, she muttered. Percy reeled back. He wasn't sure he liked that, whatever that was. Selena smiled weakly. So, anyone can fall in love, right? Boy, girl, everything in between? She asked. Percy shrugged. He wasn't unfamiliar with the concept, having 2 official mothers and all. Selena nodded. So, Aphrodite kids can get an accurate read on your preferences by looking at your hands, she shrugged. Percy blinked. There's this ancient philosopher, Anaxagoras. He was a child of Aphrodite and figured out how to do it a long time ago, she explained. Percy nodded slowly. But it's a complicated subject. Why? It's personal, Selena shrugged. Just because we can figure it out, that oh my god. Just because we can figure that out doesn't mean we should. Sometimes it's better for someone to figure it out on their own. Sometimes it is better for them to ask us. No matter what, though, it is theirs. Percy gave her a questioning look. Meaning that we can't tell anyone else. You don't add people. That's why it's more of a taught practice for us. Not everyone can be trusted to be responsible with that information. Who taught you? Mitchell, Selena said. And there was this girl named Lena who taught him. She died in the mortal world when I was little. Don't really remember her, she explained. Percy nodded. I doubt you can do it, but it might be good for people to think you're learning it. She muttered and bit her lip. Percy looked down at his palm, then at Selena. Could you do mine? He asked. Selena chuckled. What? Drew said something about dating, and it got me thinking, he said defensively. Selena's face went sour for a moment before she sighed. People are going to expect you to date, aren't they? She sighed. I don't want you just playing with people's hearts, Splendid. I won't, Percy said defensively. I mean, isn't it just friendship with kissing? I can do that. No. Friendship is a part of it. Kissing can be a part of it. That isn't all it is, though, she said, and then shook her head. You really want to know? Percy hesitated. Did he? He looked down at his hands. It wasn't like he had a crush on anyone. What was the harm in knowing? He held out his hand. All right, Selena said and took it. Percy waited as she tilted her head, muttering under her breath as she examined his palm, and then his fingernails, and then the back of his hand. She hummed and nodded. What? What does that mean? Shh, she said, and then pressed down on the center. Percy yelped. Thought so, she nodded. Percy scowled. So, for the most part, you like girls. Wait, what? For the most part? I would say it is maybe 70-30. You also like blondes, she added. Percy's mind flicked to Annabeth, and he felt his face get hot. Quickly, he snapped his hand back. Actually, wait, she muttered, and then pulled it back. Okay, so 60-30-10. What's the 10? Grey area for other genders. I'm not seeing a clear attraction, but I'm also not seeing anything that would suggest you aren't. He shrugged. I'm mainly just getting the blondes thing. You might date literally anyone if they're blonde, she snorted. Percy scowled and batted her away. What? I'm just the messenger. That's not true, he objected, and Selena laughed. I'm not shallow enough to date only blonde people. I didn't say that, she said, and then smirked. Just that you really like... I've had enough of this. Uh-huh, Selena said. Either way, now you know, she told him, and went back to the clothes. Percy looked down at his palm thoughtfully. So I can date anyone I want? I mean, not anyone. You can't date someone from my cabin, and I'm thinking at the very least they might have to dye their hair blonde, she teased. Percy made a face at her. Seriously, though, it's the same as it would normally be. If you like someone, and if you think it could be more, just go on a date. Figure it out the old-fashioned way, she shrugged. Percy sighed. Easy for her to say. He leaned against a rack of coats with a groan, then reconsidered. This isn't so bad, Percy finally decided. Selena laughed. Drew made it sound like something awful, he said, and shook his head. Why would she try to scare me? What is with her lately? He added, sitting up. Selena hesitated, then shrugged. She's gotten so mean. I thought that was supposed to be my thing, but even I can't be that mean, he added. Selena hit his shoulder. What? You're not supposed to be mean. Hermes said I was. Oh my god, are you still on that? She muttered, and then let out a weary sigh. Shit, she said, and then bit her lip. Look, she needs more time. I know she's been a bit of a nightmare. I'll try to talk to her. Again. She ran her hand over her face. She's just insecure. Worried about not being Aphrodite enough, she said. Percy made a face. Insecurity was a surprisingly common theme in this cabin. Valentina spent hours nitpicking her appearance. Mitchell once had a breakdown over losing a pound after he missed a couple workouts. Sam seemed to be in a perpetual state of discontent with their clothing being too masculine or too feminine. Selena was a miracle worker for all of them. It was, Valentina, you're always going to find things if you look up close. Take a step back and notice all the pretty things about you. Have you seen your hair? It's so soft and silky. Or, Mitchell, sometimes your body changes. It doesn't mean you're suddenly ugly. Besides, you're still pretty muscular to me. You do remember we train to kill monsters every day, right? Or, Sam, if you want to wear something a little more girly, go for it. If someone tries to say you're a girl over it, then I'll use my stiletto and kill them. And if you want to wear all boy clothes, I still have the second pair of stilettos. But Drew, she had never shown any sign of that. He had a conversation about it with his new best friend, Bessie. Bessie was this adorable cow serpent thing that he had found trapped in the net. Either Poseidon had gotten lax in dampening his power, or was too distracted to notice Percy sneaking off to hang out with sea creatures under the water, because Percy's powers were perfectly stable the last couple of days. Not that he had much time to hang out with Bessie lately, not with the most recent news. Zoe had a quest Percy would not be attending. Though there were whispers about who would. Naturally, Percy had a dream about it. On this fun episode of The Mess of Percy's Mind, there was the infamous Evelyn once again making an appearance as she laid on her stomach at the edge of the lake, singing to herself as she flicked her hands make gentle waves. Yes, the strong get small, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade, she murmured and then smiled. I know you're there, you knucklehead, she said, and from the shadows another person melted into focus. A boy with fire-red hair and dark eyes. He was wearing suspenders and a green flat cap, which really looked out of place in what Percy had decided was Camp Half-Blood. Sorry, the boy said. You go. Percy almost didn't recognize him now that he wasn't covered in ichor. You just sing so damn pretty, like a bird. An ostrich, maybe. Canary, Hugo said and smiled at her, soft and warm. I feel a little like a dog. If you sing, I just come running. Can't help it, he shrugged, and reached over to tuck a strand of hair in her face. Evelyn flushed, looking down at the water for a moment before sitting up on her knees. My brother says it's unbecoming. Evelyn put her arms around his neck. I don't mind it, she said, voice dripping with the sort of affection that no child of Aphrodite would need to dissect. You don't need to come running, but if I sing, would you stay? Hugo nodded. Good. Just for you, though. Ugh, a groan came, and Percy watched as Vera stormed up out of the trees beside them. Stop with your cockeyed love talk. Some of us want to go to the lake to swim. I'll drown you, Evelyn said, and Vera merely looked at her before falling face first into the water. Do it. Is something wrong? Hugo asked, laughing as he watched her. Don't tell me your own quest for love has fallen flat. Did you stab the Demeter girl too? Evelyn asked decisively. Nobody will like you if you stab them. Untrue. My mother stabbed my father, and look how that ended up. Yes, she ended up with Zeus, Hugo said solemnly. An unfortunate situation to be in, he said. A loud crack of thunder sounded overhead. Sorry, my lord, he laughed. I'm sure your story with Miss Bates was a lovely one indeed. He kissed the side of Evelyn's head. Vera made a disgusted noise. Come now, Vera. What's got your goat? Chiron won't let me go on that quest, Vera said and slapped the water so it sprayed everywhere. How is it I am the only one who sees how strange this whole conundrum really is. Hugo and Evelyn exchanged looks. No, I'm right about this, Vera told them both. She waded over to where they were on the dock. It's strange, is it not? For demigods to die? Not really. It is when they die like that, Vera mumbled. It wasn't anything a monster could have done. I think a god did it, she said. Evelyn sighed. Gods try to kill us every other day, Vera. Hades has tried to kill me often enough. Do you know how many skeleton warriors I've dealt with? You've dealt with? Hugo asks, amused. Nobody can defeat a skeleton warrior outside a child of Hades, he said. Though I do enjoy saving you. I can defeat them, Evelyn gasped in front. Hugo smiled at her. I just like you saving me. Come on, Vera whined. Stop this. I'm serious. And did you notice the markings? Markings? Yes, the markings. The weird dots nobody remembers getting. James had one, Vera said with a nod towards Evelyn. Oh, that? Vera, he probably just got hit weird. He fought like 6 monsters on the way over. Julia has one too. That's weird, Vera shouted. It's weird, and have you noticed only big 3 kids have it? Hugo? She tried. Hugo gave her an apologetic look. I mean, I haven't noticed, but I can look. Eli has one too, Vera continued, running her hands over the water. I'm taking him to the infirmary later. It's strange. Demigods just suddenly show up dead with their eyes burned out of their skulls. Random markings on us. I don't like it, I don't, she said fiercely. Hugo stared at her for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly, but it quickly died away when Evelyn put her head on his shoulder. I will take Julia and James to the infirmary if it bothers you so much, she said. Vera rolled her eyes. But honestly, we have more exciting things to talk about. Hugo has a quest of his own he will undergo soon, she said with a small smile. Hugo chuckled. In a few years, you mean, he said, and turned away as Vera was still impatiently waiting in the water. I learned my father has 2 more demigod children. He has asked me to personally escort them to camp when they are old enough, he said. At this, Vera's previous anxiety momentarily melted away into surprise. I know, Hugo agreed with her brows raised. I think he's starting to have hope that his kids might be accepted into this camp. I think we may even get a cabin soon, he said brightly. Karen mentioned he's claimed enough kids here to warrant one. That is good news, Vera admitted and tilted her head. And these 2 new ones? Yes, I met them last week. They're way too young for camp, but I don't think they're in any danger. My father seems particularly keen on the mother. They're full-blooded siblings, he added. Evelyn hummed. Not twins either. He went back to the same mortal twice, he explained. But yes, I met them both. Bianca and Nico D'Angelo. Sweet kids. Percy jerked. No way. That was impossible. His mind went to the unclaimed kids who'd been freed. Could they be 2 of the 3 kids? No, that didn't make sense. Why would they be put back into the mortal world? Why would Bianca join the hunters? Nico didn't seem the least bit scared of camp. It didn't add up. Well, Evelyn said and kissed Hugo's cheek. They must be like their brother. All right, I've had enough of this, Vera said, getting out of the water. You are both disgusting, being so in love, she grumbled, and shook her head like a dog. Not that it was down. No, now that it was down, Percy could see it fell to around her elbows. Evelyn made a face at her. It makes you both blind. Congratulations on your future quest, Hugo, she added to him. But you need to think about your conspiracy theories. They're not fine. Be like that, Vera said, and pointed a finger at them. Mark my words, those marks are going to mean something. And it won't be good, she said darkly. Hugo frowned after her as Evelyn watched her march away tiredly. When Vera rounded the corner, Evelyn's expression shifted from annoyed to vaguely concerned. She turned back to Hugo. You think she's okay? You care? Hugo asked, sounding a little amused. Evelyn wrinkled her nose. I think you two might be friends. Definitely not, she grumbled and stood up. But you know how she is, always so reckless, she said with a weary sigh and dusted off her dress. I better go keep her out of trouble. If she'll let me, that is, she said. Hugo laughed and gave her a slight wave. See you at dinner? She asked. Hugo reached over and kissed her hand as an answer. You're a disaster, Hugo Brandet, she told him fondly, and blew him a kiss before rushing off in the direction Vera went. Hugo's smile slowly disappeared. For a second, nothing happened as he looked out over the lake. Then Hugo rolled up the sleeve of his shirt. A red dot sat in the middle of his forearm. He lightly trailed his fingers over it before looking around. Are you doing this to us? He asked suddenly. Percy jumped. Could he see him? Hugo wasn't looking at Percy, though. His eyes were fixed on something off in the distance. It seemed blurred and unfocused. You told me to trust you, he added accusingly. Nobody responded. To trust you, I need to know what this is. Am I the only one you've been speaking to? Nothing. Percy opened his mouth, about to try and get his attention himself. But the colour had suddenly zapped. The scene seemed to zip away like water in a drain, leaving Olympus in its wake. Thalia stood next to him. It seems like a clear path to me, a voice boomed, and Percy looked up to see 11 Olympians in front of them. His blood boiled. What were they trying now? Artemis has been captured by the Titans. We will need a powerful hero to get her. Current states of prophecy has been issued to Artemis's lieutenant. Need I spell it out for you? He asked. A few gods murmured. You want to send this girl out to retrieve my sister? Apollo asked, eyes flashing. Father, my sister's freedom is at stake. Now is not the time for experiments. The girl has proven herself strong, Zeus dismissed, and well-tempered, he said, with a wave of his hand. Thalia's lips twitched. Percy got the feeling well-tempered weren't words often applied to her. This may be her chance to prove herself a true ally to the gods, and worthy of the prophecy, he said. More murmuring. The fates seem to have wished for her existence. I believe my daughter may be the key to getting Lady Artemis back, he said, more murmuring. And what if this girl has been the daughter of Hades? And what if this girl had been the daughter of Hades or myself? Poseidon's voice came from Zeus's side. You were being very generous, brother. Percy gritted his teeth. It was a good point, but Percy didn't want to hear his father trying to get another kid killed. I don't want my children around that thing, Demeter interjected sharply. If she is to be let loose, then keep her outside of camp and ensure none of our campers join in this quest. If Artemis's hunters wish to accompany her, then very well, she said, eyes drifting over Thalia thoughtfully. Child, do you think you are capable of joining this quest? She asked. Thalia looked around the room before stepping forward. I will bring Lady Artemis back and prove my fealty to you. Percy jerked up. His heart was still thudding in his chest, but all he could think of was the following. Thalia Grace was leaving Olympus, and Bianca and Nico D'Angelo were Kataras. Less fun, skeletons with handguns. Percy managed to cut the bullets through the air, which was kind of awesome. Bianca had stabbed one right in the chest, which made it burst into flames. Luckily, Grover unknowingly saved them by suggesting she had hit a certain spot on it. They didn't have too much time to evaluate, with more skeletons after them with bullets. Who decided to give skeletons handguns anyway? What was it even about? Percy's new lion pelt did a pretty good job keeping him from getting shot. That and Thalia's spear sent one off of a cliff when it got a little too close. Come on, pretty boy, she called, yanking up her spear after the last one went toppling over. Percy glowered at her. You did good. Let's keep moving before they reform again, though, she said. Right. Good. Sure. Cutting bullets with a sword was good, he supposed. Percy rolled his eyes as he bitterly picked up his own weapon to follow. I didn't need you to get involved, he said as he caught up to where the others were waiting by the edge of the forest. I didn't. Percy? Zoe cut in, also looking exhausted for some reason. It is quite, she trailed off, making a face, romantic of you to join in this quest, but... Romantic? Percy repeated. Not this again. I'm here to save Annabeth, my friend. Why can't you understand that I... He started but trailed off. Percy was hit with a sudden realization of sorts. Aphrodite kids were renowned for being vain, but now he was wondering how true that even was. With all of these sorts of belittling comments and snide remarks, it felt like he'd had to shout to remind everyone he had done more than be claimed. Swallowing, he shook his head. Never mind, he said bitterly. You don't care. Aphrodite kids, Zoe informed Bianca wisely. They're always very sensitive. Be wary of their feelings. Percy closed his eyes. No, he would not lose his temper and cause a wave of water to squash this hunter into the ground. He wouldn't do it. He was bigger than that, more mature. Castor put away his sword, eyeing Percy warily. Before he could speak, Thalia jumped in. Back off, she said, possibly reading Percy's face, as if she was much better. Look what happened when you pissed off her sister. We had nothing to do with what happened to Phoebe. Percy snapped. That was the Hermes cabin. If it was us, then none of you would be going on any quest. Oh yeah? Zoe scoffed. What were you going to do? Give us all makeovers? Hey, Percy shot back. You've been part of the hunt for like 1,000 years, right? Did you know Polly Font personally? Before she decided to go fuck a bear, I mean? He said. Zoe's eyes flashed dangerously. You brag about your mother ruining an innocent girl like that? I'm not bragging about anything, Percy said, and narrowing his eyes. I'm pointing out that looking pretty isn't exactly the only thing Aphrodite is known for, he said coldly. I came here to save my friend. I already saved everyone's asses here at least once. You're welcome, by the way, he said with a sarcastic wave. So if you want to sit there and pretend that you're carrying my weight, then, well, why don't we keep in mind which goddess is the one we're rescuing? He asked. Because it isn't my mother. Yeah, Bianca piped up. Everyone turned to her. Because she's in a net somewhere. Silence. What? Because I thought Hephaestus... It's been a while since I've learned any mythology, she admitted, shoulders slumping. Thalia patted her back. I thought I was onto something. Hephaestus does try to trap her in Ares sometimes, she shrugged. Want to try again? Oh, sure, Bianca flushed. Yeah, because she's probably caught in a net somewhere with her boy toy, right? She asked. The others looked at one another for a moment before giving subtle ohs as Percy tried his best to look offended. Okay, you don't have to pretend it was good. No, it was. I'm trying to think of a comeback. There is no return, Zoe said. She devastated you with words. Your will is now broken. Right, of course, Percy agreed. I'm devastated. Bianca narrowed her eyes suspiciously for puffing out her chest when nobody started laughing. Zoe's face softened for a moment before giving Percy another withering look and going back towards, well, wherever those two liked to hang out. Possibly to go annoy poor Grover, who was still trying to recreate the acorn trick. Thalia shook her head. Sorry about them. About them? Percy asked warily. Thalia tilted her head. He really shouldn't be ticking her off. She had a temper that was just as bad as his own. He was just so tired. Frustrated. You're not much better, he muttered as he pushed back. Thalia grabbed his arm. I'm sorry, she said. Percy scowled. I know you're here, Annabeth, as her friend, she rectified when Percy's scowl deepened. And I know you're not like the rest. Finish that. I swear to every god I can name, Percy said, and shoved her hand all over him. My siblings are awesome. Stop knocking them just because I don't even know why. He threw up his hands. Selena is a big part of the reason you weren't killed the second you became de-pineconed. So if you could show the barest hint of respect, that'd be awesome, he said. Thalia's lips pursed. Besides, it's funny, he added coolly. This is technically my third quest. Selena went on one too, and this is your first, right? Given that you couldn't even make it to camp alive? It was a really unfair thing to say. Annabeth would have broken his nose if she had heard it. Still, he almost wanted Thalia to fight him. He could hold his own against her. He was sure of it. Thalia didn't lash out like he expected her to, though. Instead, she sighed. Normally, I would electrocute you for that, she said, and then looked him over. But I have been giving you a lot of crap recently, haven't I? She asked. Percy kicked the ground with a shrug. I'm sorry, for real this time. Selena did save my life. So did you. And it isn't like I'm a huge Artemis fan at the moment, she sighed. Looking over her shoulder towards Zoe. Maybe you just don't get along with anyone, she said, voice going a little low as her eyes fell to the ground. I guess I'm just a little jealous sometimes. Not that, it makes it okay, but jealous? Jealous of what? Percy asked. Thalia's expression went strange for a moment before she slapped her spear back on her wrist, letting it reform into a bracelet. Zoe has the hunters. You have your siblings. Bianca has both now, she said wistfully. My family is dead on the Titan side, or kidnapped by the Titan side, she said and swallowed. And here I am, the big three kid that everyone wants dead. I'm pretty sure even my father wishes I hadn't come back, she said, rubbing the back of her neck. Percy felt his feelings pause for a moment. I know that must be scary, thinking everyone wants you dead. Thalia shrugged. It's okay, she said, not meeting his eyes. I, just try to justify us being alive, I mean. I guess part of me thinks that if I put everyone around me down, that someone might think I'm important enough to keep alive for a bit longer, she said, and gave a wry smile. Not really a good tactic, huh? Percy wished he could tell her how much she understood. I don't want you dead. No? Not for being Zeus' daughter, he said, but sometimes you really piss me off. Thalia's lips quirked up. Well, I don't really want you off this quest, Thalia told him. Percy raised an eyebrow. Not for being a useless Aphrodite kid, anyway. But sometimes you really piss me off too. Percy laughed. I can accept that. And it's okay that you aren't identical to your siblings. Aphrodite is powerful. You're powerful. They're powerful too, she shrugged. You just seem to be the one who was doing anything with it, she said. Percy threw his sword down and collapsed on the log next to him. Well, we aren't given a lot of chances to without someone bitching about it, he said. I would have been fine to sit this one out if it weren't for Annabeth. I wouldn't have even gotten that fleece if it weren't for Grover, he admitted. Thalia hummed before sitting down next to him. You didn't smack Bianca down? She noted. No Aphrodite tongue with her? She asked. Percy snorted. He wondered how his father felt about that. Percy's snappy comments and sarcastic sense of humour were always credited to Aphrodite. Apparently, she was two sides of the same coin. The same voice that held the most sugar also held the most venom. I thought about it, he sighed, but she doesn't mean any of it. Besides, what I was thinking was too harsh. Ooh, tell me. No, it's too mean. I won't judge you for it, Thalia promised. Percy sighed and looked over his shoulder to make sure the rest of the group was far away before answering with a sigh. That at least I was going to actually go back to my siblings, he said. Thalia's mouth dropped. I know, it was too mean. I couldn't say it. If she's happy, then that's all that matters, he said quickly. It did feel wrong, especially after Bianca confessed her guilt over the whole thing. Thalia bit her lip. That is too harsh, she agreed quietly. I don't know how she did it. I would have never left my brother, she murmured. Percy jerked up. What? He asked. Thalia's eyes widened before she could respond. The air crackling suddenly, and the smell of flowers and the sea filled the air. Hello, darling. Percy got up and frowned. Speak of the devil? Mom? He asked. Aphrodite beamed. She had changed from the last time he had seen her. Percy wondered what that said about him. She wore a dark red dress of satin, hair loose and rolling freely down her back. He was reminded a bit of Annabeth, actually. Though Annabeth didn't have violet eyes. He could still see his mother and Selena alongside some TV show actress he used to have a crush on, which was not what one wanted to think about when looking at one's fake mother, but here he was. Yes, she said brightly and grabbed either side of his shoulder, kissing his cheek. Oh, look at you, you've grown, she said and put a hand on his chest. Oh, just so handsome. Hello, Thalia Grace, she added. Thalia stood up and bowed. Oh, no need for that. Just don't tell me to your father, and we'll call it even. She winked and tapped the end of Percy's nose. You and I need to talk real fast. Give us a moment? She asked. Thalia glanced between the two before nodding and walking off towards where the others went. Why are you? He began, but Aphrodite's smile vanished. And just what, in the name of the gods, do you think you're doing? She asked. Damn it. Drew had been right. Okay, that's the end of chapter 5. These chapters are so long, like, oh my god. I think, yeah, just over an hour. Just over, it's like 10 minutes, 13 minutes, over an hour. No, what did it be at? 15? I don't know, no clue. Too long for me, though. So, I found a cool fic that I know what I'm going to do. Words, oh my god. Oh yeah, happy Easter for anybody who does Easter. Happy. It's gods. Turns out reading for this long means the words don't work in my head. Just don't. Anyway, happy Easter if you celebrate it, because it's super fun. I know Astara is around this time. I'm getting better at it, but not really. Happy Ostara if that's what you celebrate. I don't know what else this is, I'm gonna be honest. Words. Oof. You can hear me messing up because I can't speak anymore apparently. Okay, so this is chapter 5. We have 12 chapters in this book. Also, in case you guys didn't know, if you just check in the description, I always say, like, this would be 5 out of 12, the chapters 5 out of 12, so that you know which chapter I'm doing. You can see how many there is. Or even just, if you check the playlist, if it's not finished, it normally says at the end how many parts there is. So, and then I get rid of that once it's completely finished, but it says 12 chapters at the end of the playlist. So let's see them. I will be reading the next books in it. So if I were to actually get this up quickly, let's see if I open a new tab. Switch. Okay, there is the Son of Seafoam. There is Descendants of Olympus, which is also completed. There is Sons of Sea and Foam. That one isn't completed, but there's 5 out of the 8 chapters out, and when it was updated, I think I can see for now. go into it to see. It was last updated February, so who knows? Maybe by the time I get to it, it will be finished. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I'll probably do it, and then just whenever the last chapter comes out, or new chapters come out, I'll add to it. But in between that, I'm going to be doing this one. I'm doing one which is a Marauders one. It's called something about a fire getting low. I don't actually remember. Where when the when the fire is low. This one. It is a Marauders one, but like it's set in South Africa, and like I'm South African, so of course I'm gonna be doing that one. And like I'm actually so excited because you have a character that speaks Afrikaans, and while I don't properly speak Afrikaans, I can pronounce everything for the most part because my dad's Afrikaans. I should know more Afrikaans. Anyway, that's besides the point. I'm tired. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm talking for like way too long. I really need to get a grip on that. But anyway, thanks for listening. I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.